Today we will practice how to write a bar graph report with a band score of 9.0 with comparison to a bar graph report with a band score of 6.0. This bar graph is dynamic, but if you also want to practice bar graph static, you can check the link below. Writing a report for bar graph dynamic with a band score of 9.0 is similar to writing a line graph because dynamic graphs show data over time. So there are trends, movements, and changes. To start with, this is the bar graph dynamic that we will study. This bar graph shows data, changes over time, 1995 to 2002. So we need to use words that indicate changes. We can use specific vocabulary for upward and downward movements with the past and the present forms. Upward trend for verb. Increase, increased, rise, rose, climb, climbed, jump, jumped, incline, inclined, grow, grew. For noun, increase, rise, climb, jump, inclination, growth. For downward trend for verb, decrease, decreased, fall, fell, decline, declined, drop, dropped, reduce, reduced. And for the noun, decrease, fall, decline, drop, reduction. And if the graph has this trend, we use these expressions both in the past and in the present form. Level off, leveled off, remain stable, steady, remained stable, steady, stay constant, stayed constant, maintain the same level, maintained the same level. Going further, this is the standard structure of a Band 9.0 report. It includes introduction, overview, body paragraph 1, and body paragraph 2. In addition to this, to get a band score of 9.0, we have to check the band descriptors for writing Task 1. We have to carefully consider the task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. Looking at the illustration, we need to compare the band descriptors of 6.0 and 9.0. The detailed video about the strategies and examples of writing an introduction and an overview is in the separate video. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss any of our upcoming videos. So for the introduction, this is how we write it. This is the Band 6.0 example. The bar chart gives the total number of calls in the UK in billions of minutes with 3 call types. This is Band 9.0 example. The total time in billions of calls using the telephone divided into 3 types over the course of 7 years from 1995 in the UK is depicted in the bar graph. The first example gets 6.0 because it uses a basic vocabulary and it lacks important detail, like the year. While the second one uses advanced level of words and it indicates the important details, so it marks 9.0. Moving on to overview, this is the Band 6.0 example. In general, local fixed line calls have the highest by the middle of the period. It gradually declined. National and international calls shows a gradual rise over the whole period, with mobile calls rising considerably toward the end of the period. And this is the Band 9.0 example. In general, all telephone calls had an upward trend in all the year intervals, except for local fixed line, which leveled off, but it stayed the most popular call type among the others. We can see that both the examples include the trends of the bar graph, which are very significant in writing an overview. But the Band 6.0 example uses simple sentence with errors in spelling, verb formation, and punctuation. In contrast, Band 9.0 example uses complex sentences with accurate verb form and advanced choice of vocabulary. Furthermore, this is the body paragraph example with a band score of 6.0. Regarding local fixed line calls, in 1995, local fixed lines began at slightly over 70 billion minutes and rose gradually to a peak of 90 billion minutes by 1999. However, from 2000, the trend showed a gradual decline in numbers of calls ending in 2002 at the same amount as the start of the period. Turning to national, international fixed calls and mobile calls. Mobile calls in 1995 stood at around 2 billion minutes. Over the next 4 years, they showed a gradual rise with a considerate increase in call numbers from 2000 to 2002. International fixed calls in 1995 then climbed steadily to around 60 billion minutes of calls in 2002. This example gets 6.0, firstly because it does not use referencing well, which leads to repetition of phrases and words. Also, incorrect word formation for the phrase with a considerate increase. It should be with a considerable increase. On top of that, there is also frequent use of simple sentence structures in the entire report. Now, we can see why the former sample gets only 6.0 by rechecking the IELTS band descriptors. Firstly, it has 166 words, but the introduction lacks data, and the overview does not have all general data. Secondly, the report's cohesion is affected by the inaccuracy of some sentences, and it does not use referencing clearly. Thirdly, common and basic words are used with errors in spelling and word formation. Lastly, it's obvious that most sentences in the report are in simple forms and some verb forms are inaccurate, affecting the grammar of the sentences. On the contrary, this is the sample body paragraphs with a band score of 9.0. Going further into details, in 1995, the time of local fixed line stood the tallest at almost 71 billion minutes before it continued to rise and reached the highest in 1999 at just over 90 minutes. However, it gradually decreased to 85 minutes after a year, dropping to approximately 71 minutes by 2002. Evidently, its data was the same as its record in 1995, which remained the highest as compared to the other two types of calls. Meanwhile, as national and international fixed line calls grew steadily from just under 40 to about 61 in the given survey periods, mobile calls saw a dramatic increase by 40 at the same time. Interestingly, despite the popularity of local fixed line in 2002, the gap between the three categories narrowed down towards the end of the term considerably due to the gradual growth of the two telephone calls. This report gets 9.0 because it uses cohesive devices appropriately and the words that are used are advanced. Also, all the sentences used are different types of complex sentence forms. Now, let's check its band descriptor. Initially, it has 200 words, and writing 155 to 200 words is okay as long as you follow the band descriptors according to your target score. The example satisfies all the requirements of the task because it has introduction, overview, which includes the main data, trends and the highest, and body paragraphs. Additionally, the report is logical and easy to follow because it uses appropriate cohesive devices. Moreover, The words that are used are advanced, and these are used accurately. Lastly, all the sentences in the report are various types of complex sentence structures. If you want to get 9.0 and learn about the complex sentence patterns for IELTS Writing Task 1, please check the link below. And this is how we write a Band 9.0 bar graph dynamic. The total time in billions of calls using the telephone divided into 3 types over the course of 7 years from 1995 in the UK is depicted in the bar graph. In general, all telephone calls had an upward trend in all the year intervals except for local fixed line, which leveled off, but it stayed the most popular call type among the others. Going further into details, in 1995, the time of local fixed line stood the tallest at almost 71 billion minutes before it continued to rise and reached the highest in 1999 at just over 90 minutes. However, it gradually decreased to 85 minutes after a year, dropping to approximately 71 minutes by 2002. Evidently, its data was the same as its record in 1995, which remained the highest as compared to the other 2 types of calls. Meanwhile, as national and international fixed line calls grew steadily from just under 40 to about 61 in the given survey periods, mobile calls saw a dramatic increase by 40 at the same time. Interestingly, despite the popularity of local fixed line in 2002, the gap between the 3 categories narrowed down towards the end of the term considerably due to the gradual growth of the 2 telephone calls. Thank you for studying with us. Please subscribe to our channel to be updated to all our upcoming video lessons. If you find it useful, please press like, and if you have questions, please put it under the video.